All right. Good now, revolutionaries. This is the Rise Up Morning Somewhere show because whether you're listening morning, noon, or night, it's time to wake up and smell the crypto. That's right, I'm talking helpful news, commentary, opinions that matter, that represent you, your takes, your questions, right here on TikTok Live. My colleague Alex and I are live every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. UTC. We're co-founders in the blockchain space. We are curious and concerned about the technology that will form the foundation of the future of the internet. And we want to help you get an inside look at what exactly is going on here so you can understand why it might matter to everyday people like us. So we're going to share some news stories. We're going to answer your questions and walk together through this journey. If you want more from the Rise Up Morning Somewhere show, you can join us on Discord. The link is https://discord.gg/themany, like the Faceless Many, which is you, me, everybody. Even your grandma's one of the Faceless Many. Let me know how you're doing this morning as we wait for Alex to get here. We've got a great show to talk about today. We're going to talk a little about the OpenAI New York Times lawsuit. We're going to talk a little about Sam Bankman-Fried's trial updates and, of course, answer your many questions. I see some folks I know here. Dave, how are you? Alex, how are you? Welcome, brother. And let us know how it's going. Alex, how you doing this morning, man? I like your sunshine.
Thanks, man. I'm excited to be here, and I'm trying to find a little bit more aesthetically pleasing background. So I'm curious. I was curious to see how this because the sunrise is like right there. So we'll see. It might be a little intense.
I got you. Well, everybody watching, do us a favor and give Alex some feedback. How's the sunrise? If you like it, be sure to tap the screen. It's totally free and it helps the show a lot. Another thing that really helps us is if you tap that little button at the bottom of your screen that says share. And here's the pro tip. Share this with a friend who might need it. But also, if you just want to help us get the word out to the algorithm that this is helpful news, then you can share it with one of us. For folks who are our friends in the comments, like Dave, Damon, I know that that's something that you guys would do, and I appreciate it. Alex, man, we got a big day of news ahead. There's a lot of stuff going on. Do you want to give everybody a quick preview of some of the headlines, and then we can jump right into it?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right. So I think we were going to avoid digging too much into more SBF stuff. I think we're all pretty SBF'd out. But perhaps if there's time later, we can touch on it, or if anyone wants to know about it, let us know. Otherwise, we've got some airdrop related stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about Decrypt's profile on Base, and we're going to kind of dig into a little bit of that, some of the nuance behind why Base was selected, perhaps. A little bit of conjecture, kind of talk about, what is Base and what else is going on. We're going to do a little bit of a security PSA, kind of round up last year's scam totals and give us all a couple of reminders to keep in the forefront of our brains as we go into 2024 here. We're going to talk about some interesting IP related stuff around the Steamboat Willie brand. And
Public domain now, baby.
yeah, so that's pretty interesting. Kind of excited to dig into that and go into, where does Web3 potentially fit into that? How do NFTs theoretically change that conversation? And one of the things that I'm interested to see is kind of how it shapes the legal landscape over the next decade, because I think we're going to see a lot more court cases start to come out. I think a lot of precedent is going to be set in the next 10 years, especially given the potential for some of these brands to rise up and be pretty large. I mean, if you think about it, I actually didn't even mean to do that. But I'm just imagining, imagine the founders of Yuga get down on their luck, right? And Bored and I'm just making shit up, and Bored and Hungry just turns into a $1 billion franchise.
Sure.
Would they try to go after them for some obscure, obscure thing. And I don't know. We'll see. Interesting.
Well, I kind of thought we could start with a story that also is in the land of IP and is in the land of what is fair to use and what is not fair to use. Are you cool if I give a preview on the New York Times versus OpenAI lawsuit and then get your take on it?
Yeah, I saw you send that to me. I was like, this is perfect because I know nothing about it. So you can teach me about it as well. And
Oh my God.
I'm gonna grab my
It
coffee while you
happens in
preview
real
it.
time. Literally, as we were wrapping the show last week on Thursday, this lawsuit broke. News outlets started to report that the New York Times has filed a lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft. And I said to Alex this week as we were prepping, I said, let's talk about this. We can talk about this. He's like, oh yeah, we can talk about this. And I was like, I feel like there's a big story that I'm forgetting. And this was it. So a lot happens in a couple of days, but the gist is this, and there's a big complaint, hundreds of pages, hundreds of thousands of instances of evidence. It's rooted in copyright law and, of course, in the U.S. Constitution, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if this was the kind of case that ended up at the Supreme Court. It notes that there is a lot of money at stake. OpenAI has been speculated to be worth about $90 billion. And the Times goal is to negotiate a settlement or an award from the court for its data that was used without its permission to train GPT. And of course, everybody's data was used to train GPT. But
I
here's
was
the
gonna say,
interesting thing about this lawsuit is by the numbers, Alex, I'm looking for this exact table.
Mhm.
Their data set includes billions of pieces, right? Hundreds of billions of pieces. But in terms of the weight in the training mix, no single source was found more in GPT's database than the New York Times, with an occurrence as frequent as 1.9 parts per hundred, meaning almost 2 out of every 100 points of data returned from a search was referencing a New York Times article. And in some instances, the most compelling piece for me was when they tweaked the parameters of GPT not to give any sort of like fluffy filtered output, set it to 0,
Mhm.
and they put in the first sentence of a New York Times article. They did this hundreds of times. In almost every instance, it plagiarized massive amounts of text from the
Wow.
rest of the article, returning almost identical answers to New York Times pieces that were published. So that's kind of the brief summary here. Um, Big time violation of all of New York Times content. But what do you think about this? Because I'm sure you've heard the arguments that
Yeah.
AI learns like people learn, and you wouldn't penalize a person for sharing something they learned on the New York Times as part of their common knowledge. Where's the line here? What do you think, man?
That's tough. Um, I don't know that I'm equipped to have like a proper opinion about it. But I think about conversations I've had with Alex Ruiz about this because so for those of you who don't know, Alex Ruiz is a friend of ours and he is a phenomenal artist and he did a lot of work for Marvel. Specifically, if you've seen the movie Black Widow, the scene where the Red Room, the like floating island that is the Red Room, is falling. He he designed that entire sequence. He designed the Beast from the live action Beauty and the Beast. He created the Beast character. He was the chief or primary animator on The Simpsons before it switched, or right after it switched rather, from pencil to like digital. Um, and anyway, he's a phenomenal artist, and he's been around. He's got I don't know how many Emmys the man has, several, lots more than a few Emmys, and he was really interested in AI related stuff because he uses it to create the paintbrushes that he paints with. But he's also enough of an artist to where if you query like an AI model about him, it will paint stuff like in his style. Um, and so he was not thrilled about that because, for example, if I get a Midjourney render in Alex Ruiz's style and I pay Midjourney $20 a month, I have commercial rights, or they won't come after me for like using that commercially.
Right.
And they would not have been able to create that for me if it wasn't for referencing Alex's like archives of artwork. So I don't know. I think that I think the only thing I really think about it is that one, we're going to have to wait and see how these court opinions shake out, because I think about like the famous Wikipedia case that sort of set the precedent that we have now, which was the iconic nature photographer whose name is escaping me now, who like left his camera on a tripod and the monkey took a selfie.
Oh yeah. Can
Yeah,
monkeys own intellectual property? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and spoiler alert, they can't, which is just straight up rude. But the the other thing that I think is just kind of a, I guess more of a non-professional or non, I don't know. I guess just a general opinion. I think that these AI models should do a better job of trying to credit the things that build their database. Like, I don't know how hard it would be to add a feature or something where if you prompt a generation, whether it's art or whether it's text, that it should give you some kind of little like, you know, I don't know, maybe if you've crossed a threshold and like so much of a percentage, I'm just making this up, I don't know, but like so much of a percentage of your result, was like made possible by someone. Like if I go to Midjourney and I say prompt me, design me a character doing this and this and this setting or whatever in the style of Vincent van Gogh, it should like, you know, some sort of indication, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what you think about it, Evan,
Well,
but
because I mean, like, just by asking it to do it in the style of Van Gogh, you would almost think like, here's a painting based. Like, obviously, it looked at Van Gogh to do it.
obviously, yeah. In that case, I'm trying to tie it back to this New York Times thing, because I had no idea
I asked it a more
that it was
general
that
question:
bad.
paint me a masterpiece,
Yeah,
and it uses Van Gogh and it uses Picasso and it uses this to give you
yep,
this. And to be fair, I feel like in the last couple of weeks and months, the kinds of answers I get from GPT are along the lines that it explains itself more. Maybe it's my prompting. I don't know. I noticed more than it used to. It explains itself more in terms of this is what somebody might say, or this is what this person might do. Um, and Alex, I've got it pulled up here just because I wanted you and everybody else to see it. Just look, just look at this. Here are some side by side comparisons of New York Times articles and GPT, right? Like they give it this: Brazil, one of the worst in the world, is the output from GPT after the prompt. This is the prompt: Rio de Janeiro, COVID-19 has already left a trail of death and despair in Brazil, one of the worst of the world. Brazil, one of the worst of the world. The text in red is verbatim copied from New York Times. This is a couple of images here of where it's happened, and it just goes right down the line. Um, these are four where like the first two paragraphs are automatic perfect matches, but there are hundreds of examples in the lawsuit that they filed. And I mean, I think the thing that's compelling to me is that this lawsuit at this moment in time is going to be decided by a jury. And so we're talking about everyday US American people are going to see this and be asked to decide, is this just or not? Um,
yeah,
which I think it's almost impossible to overstate the fact that, it's people deciding this. And that's one of the reasons I think it'll probably get appealed. And I think it'll get appealed again and again and again. And I just got to say, my kind of like, you know, because I'm like you, I'm an armchair expert, but my pin in it thought was like, man, obviously this is a watershed moment, but everything is a story, everything is a narrative. Could there be a better like good guy bad guy dichotomy than New York Times and OpenAI, like titans of industry, huge figures? Who's the good
yeah,
guy, who's the bad guy? I don't know. But I love that it's a narrative, and I love that it's the New York Times that would like bring this lawsuit, because it's like flowery language and poetic. um, I think it's really kind of picture perfect. Like you could write a movie about it. Surely they will.
yeah. It is interesting. I'm very curious to see how it goes, because, like I said, when when a subject is before the court and there is no standing precedent, like you said, you're basically just set up to kick off, a decade worth of appeals, especially if the two sides uh, going at each other are billion-dollar organizations that can afford to drag that shit out. Because if one of them gets the sense that it's not going their way, they're just going to stall. You can stall for years easily. And if you're not like a big guy taking advantage of a little guy, then court cases take forever.
Mhm.
I mean, especially here where there is like no legal precedent for what they're talking about. So I would not anticipate a result, honestly, in the next 5 years at all.
Yeah. Kip had an interesting comment. He said, "Why can't they both be the bad guy? Like
Oh,
because
they
they
can.
are." I don't know. That would be an interesting take on it.
But I think
Certainly.
I think the difference is though that the New York Times, if we wanted to call them a bad guy, we could identify what it is about them that we don't like, or what it is about them that we don't think they do well, or why would we be inclined to call them the bad guy? OpenAI is new. Like we don't know as much about them as we do the New York Times. So like
Yeah.
you could dislike OpenAI because you're not a fan of AI, or you're nervous about where it's going, or you're scared about what it could do, or all of these other things. But like we don't know enough to know about OpenAI. The only thing we know about OpenAI as like a company, sans product, is the rallying show of support around Sam Altman when the board ousted him, and almost all of the employees immediately signed up to quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we need some time for all of their scandals to develop. It hasn't been long enough.
No, it hasn't been long enough. And I see Kip's point about the only
Hmm.
time change can occur is when elites collide, but I just would disagree and say, especially in the age of the internet, I think we have seen social movements rise from the bottom up when something happens to a common person and a spark is lit. The Arab Spring, um, starting largely with the catalyzing event of a single man immolating himself in Tunisia, um, as sort of a symbol of these conflicts that have been boiling over. So I don't know. I think change can happen from the bottom up. This is definitely an instance of elites colliding. And if you guys want to read more about this and all the stories that we cover, we're going to post them links to them in the Discord after the show, and that's discord.gg/the many. I'll post the full complaint, the exhibits, so you can look through them yourself. Alex, I actually, since we're talking about this first, I almost feel like it's a good moment to talk about the Steamboat Willie thing. It's a little more lighthearted, but it kind of keeps the IP conversation going. You want to touch on that next?
Yeah, so let's do that one. Let's do that one. Yeah.
Okay. You want to give it a lead, or do you want me to?
No, go for it because I have a lot of thoughts about that one.
Okay. So the other day I was on Twitter and I saw that Disney has lost copyright on the early Mickey Mouse, most specifically Steamboat Willie. And the post I saw it in was from a creator we both follow, Linus, and it immediately made me think of Alex. I'll show you because somebody had used the Steamboat Willie look to
Hmm.
create a first person shooter video game. And
Yep.
I got to be honest with you, like, if you're a Call of Duty person, it looks like kind of a cool reskin, you know what I mean?
No,
But
dude,
make it Walt Disney 1928.
it looks dope. It's really cool. I can't believe no one's done one like this before.
She's even got the finger gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
It's
it's
called
good.
Mouse, and I can track down in a second some of the people who are speculating on its development. But what we wanted to talk about, and what I wanted your opinion on, Alex, is you know this is a great example. We were talking last night. I don't know enough about this situation to know if this
Yeah.
particular created work went into public domain because they like refused the right to renew the copyright if they weren't able to. I got to imagine Disney would have chosen to renew this kind of copyright. But now we're going to see a bunch of people in the age of the internet pick up on it and do new things with it. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I was gonna say I have no idea. Um, I can't if there's a high cost associated with keeping IP like indefinitely. I can imagine that Disney is equipped to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious as to why they don't have it anymore, or if it was a deliberate choice because maybe it got attention and they were willing to like and able to make this sacrifice because of how much other stuff they have. I mean, um, I don't know what like Disney World attendance rates are at, but like that shit makes an insane amount of money, even just in the U.S. Then plus, I mean, how much IP do they own as a company? I mean, it's like a lot of it, most of it. So maybe they let it go for the publicity, if it is. But like you said, I don't know if it was a choice or if they had no choice. It's interesting. But I'm curious to see what comes out of it now because I've already started to see, like Beeple did Steamboat Shilly.
Oh, really?
Oh, dude, he cranks out pieces so fast it's ridiculous. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
he's prolific.
it's Steamboat Willie like hawking crypto at people called Steamboat Shilly. Um,
That's fantastic. Um,
wait, Tom has Tom, do you have any links to any? I can try to look that up, but that sounds like about the kind of information we're looking for here.
Disney has lobbied for irreparable damage to the intellectual rights to pass on creativity and ideas. How interesting. Um, Disney did not renew the copyright I'm finding here on Steamboat Willie specifically, leading to its entry into the public domain. Um, over the years, I guess what it says here, this article says extensions of copyright could not perpetually extend the copyright um, of works created in the earliest 20th century when copyright first started. Um, and the other thing that people are noting here is that while Steamboat Willie is in public domain, Mickey Mouse is not. And there are a couple of key differences, the white gloves, et cetera, et cetera. And I think Disney's lawyers are going to have a field day clapping down on people who infringe on that copyright.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like another thing that's going to tee up a whole bunch of whole bunch of court cases.
Yeah, and maybe it's just when you look back at it, if you're making a distinction between Steamboat Willie and Mickey, obviously Mickey's your guy. Like if you only got limited cash, you're fighting for Mickey. But when we were talking about it yesterday, Alex, you were saying this is a great kind of open door into one of our favorite topics, which is what is ownership going to look like in the future of the internet,
Yeah.
and how do NFTs, if at all, touch this problem and solve it. What do you think?
I am very curious to see how that also kind of has been the theme for the stories we've shared today. But I'm excited to see. Well, excited might not be the right word. I'm interested. I'm very interested to see how IP law and all of these various. I keep saying it. Precedents being set legally in the next 10 years, based on things like AI use of property um, or information in its data points, and also with regards to like these NFT collections specifically, because IP rights has been such a talking point from like NFT founders to why should you buy into this art based project? It's the keystone of the Pudgy Penguins utility right now with all of the stuff that they're doing, with regards to like the game or with regards to, um,
With regards to their plushies, their products in
yeah,
Walmart.
all of the toys in Walmart. I mean, if they got toys in McDonald's or whatever they're doing, and they're certainly not going to be the only ones. So I feel like I genuinely can't tell you which way it's going to go. Um, I think that it will ultimately depend on what was agreed upon between like founder and builder of a project and the buyers. Because the scenario that I'm imagining is NFT. This kind of ties into Evan a little bit about like the Kevin Rose drama that we were going to touch on.
Sure. Yeah.
I think this kind of plays into the relationship between founder and holder. Like imagine a world wherein there is a project and the founder just loses it. It's just not going well. There's no plan. There's no whatever. And someone in the community, using the power of their tokens that they own, decides to try to re-jumpstart this for everyone. We've seen this happen before. And maybe they end up really making it and becoming successful and reattributing value to the collection. And they want to port that over somewhere else, away from the bad founder or the founder who drove it into the ground or whatever it is. And then that founder wants to come after them because, they originally created the collection or they originally created the IP or whatever it is. I think that'll be interesting to see. I could imagine it going that way because it's sort of like, we just haven't really seen any legal precedent set at all about these NFT collections. We've seen a little bit of enforcement for like obvious securities violations, but with regards to like big IP stuff, it's really just been Yuga versus Ryder Rips.
Yeah, I have seen that there are more conversations around this in like traditional art. Generative art has had some interesting conversations around this. There was speaking of Kevin Rose again, but adjacent stuff, there is an artist in our space, Tyler Hobbs. He did Fidenza. He did some other, generative NFT projects that became really popular. And some of his pieces sell for millions of dollars. And he just created this like generative tattoo method so that he can design, he's written a piece of code that can be plugged into a type of tattoo machine so that you can get a 1-for-1 Tyler Hobbs generative tattoo anywhere that this machine is, and he doesn't have to be present. Imagine if Picasso had written an algorithm, if Claude Monet had written an algorithm, not just OpenAI copying them, but if these people, these artists had the ability to do that, and then you could co-create with them in real time. I think that's going to be like the kind of blurred lines we're interested in, is not just Chat GPT pretending to be Claude Monet, but when there's an Alex GPT and I can ask it a question because you have trained it on your thoughts, and you're dead someday. Is that going to be what we do instead of books? And I personally think, I've talked about this before. I absolutely think that non-fungible tokens are going to, because they give a tangible form to intangible stuff like what did you do, that doesn't have to just be money. You invented this thing, let me pay you for it, right? No, here's a certificate that proves you did this thing, that whoever now owns it. I absolutely think people are going to have NFTs for the stuff that they do. Everything is going to be a token. Every GIF you make for the Punji Penguins, you're going to get a token for that. You may not be compensated for it, but I think this is going to move us away from like a, pay a fee and get my IP protected model to I have a non-fungible token that proves I did the thing, and everybody who uses it, first of all, everybody's going to be free to use it. They're not going to be behind a paywall. My art is going to live in the world. More people are going to see it and be incentivized to share it because they'll know it's mine. It'll be cool with me. That's the direction I see us going.
That would be like I don't know. That's a prediction. A way that it could go. I wonder if you could get it to the point. So we've talked about, VeChain as an example of this idea, that you get to a point where it just becomes weird to not use the blockchain solution for a specific thing. Luke, it really depends what you're going for. That's a weird ass question. If you want to become a 5-star Michelin chef, then no, it's not the best option. There's probably better. Kip, I think it's hilarious that you just suggested requesting yourself real quick. So I gotta poke you a little bit for that.
I don't see your request, Kip. Yeah, sorry. I wonder if he does have bad signal. Anyway, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
It becomes weird at some point to not use the blockchain solution for something. We talk about how like blockchain is not a good solution for lots of stuff, but it's a phenomenal solution for like a few specific things. And I wonder if in that same vein, you get to the point where instead of going through this lengthy process to like prove IP or prove that you own this or that you have that or that, here's how copyright, whatever, it would just become a simple, like, prove it. Prove the token holdership, and then we'll proceed. And all of that, all of the stuff, all of the rights that you would have as a holder of that would just be ingrained in like the metadata of that particular token. And you could potentially skip all of the bullshit that you would have to normally go through to prove that, like, Evan, we talk about this with zero knowledge proof of like, identification, or if your medical record, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You might be able to get to that point with ownership as well, where it would just become a simple like, hey, I would like to print, I don't know, this logo on this shirt. And instead of having to prove that, like, or sign some massive waiver or whatever, it's just a very simple thing. Like, okay, cool, connect the wallet, and if you're holding this token ID, then boom, off you go. You're good to go. So I'd be really curious to see how that shapes up. But
yeah, 100%. Kip, I'm sorry, I don't see your guest request, and it might be me. But I think we've got good signal. DARPA. Oh, he wants to talk about DARPA. A little bit of an internet revolution. I actually don't know too much about DARPA, except that it was a sort of what was it? A Cold War era project. Here, try refreshing again and see if we can't get it in. In the meantime, let us know, folks, what you're thinking about. What do you think about IP? Do you think NFTs would be the future of IP? Are you waiting to see? I'm curious what other people in the audience think, and I'm also curious what they think about. I didn't see a lot of comments about OpenAI, so let me know if that interests you. Let me know if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have a concern, a good joke, a word of wisdom. I'd be interested to hear it. And of course, you can join the conversation with us in our Discord at discord.gg/themany. I say our, but what I mean is our, it's our Discord. It's Discord for the show, Discord for the Faceless Many, the whole community. Kip says, I was born there and experimented on. Oh, in the USSR. Interesting. Oh, here it is. Kip, I'm going to let you up, and I'd love to hear what you have to say, and then we'll bump into our research topic of the day here in another couple minutes. Hey
guys,
how's it going, brother?
Good. It's 8:30 at night over here.
Oh, well, good evening to you then. Good evening and good now, and thanks for joining us, man. So you wanted to talk about DARPA?
Yeah, so I wanted to tell you an interesting thing that I think is interesting, and it relates to your topic directly, which is, so I was born in Champaign, Illinois, right? Which was the birthplace of DARPA, which was the birthplace of the internet. And I spent my young youth days at CERL, which is the Computer Education Research Laboratory, which was the first internet. So I was on the internet in 1975, which is pretty wild to think about.
Yeah.
Because you go, what the hell? And we were using touchscreen computers at that time, all this kind of stuff and everything. Really crazy to think about. But the thing is because my dad was faculty there, I got to hang out with all these people who were like the big brains inventing the internet. And the whole concept behind it was about preventing catastrophic war, that we can just make a copy of everything everywhere so that if we get nuked in one particular location, that we have redundancies everywhere. And so basically, I remember back then as a kid, they were talking about these redundancies, and people were talking about, copyright is going to be dead. There will be no way to copyright anything because there's going to be copies of everything all over the place. And I just find it interesting that here we are, damn near 50 years later, right? And this issue of how do we protect copyright with a invention that was designed to defeat any kind of copyright, which I think is just sort of an interesting thing, because they were talking about it back then. And you see people now, it's like, well, free use and fair domain and all this kind of stuff about copyright. But still, imagine that you work your ass off to print a book and somebody just makes a PDF and puts it out there. Once it's out there and it's been reprinted millions of times, there's not a damn thing anybody can do about it. And I think what I really wanted to speak to is this idea of saying, hey, if people can use an NFT, I mean, it would have to be a complete adoption by everybody. Otherwise, what happens is, so you've got that, but if it's good information, someone will just make a copy, stick it out there, even if it's not valid or if it's not stamped with approval. What does it really matter? You spend a lifetime making a cookbook, someone makes a copy of it. So anyway, I don't know if that helps or anything, but just to know that the people that I got to talk to back then as a little kid, and all the people around were like, the internet is to be thought of as a copy machine. That's all it was. And so there's no way to ever protect anything ever was their foundation. And they said, and this is a good thing. I just thought it was an interesting, you can look up DARPA and Searle and Plato and all that stuff that I grew up with. Because then they brought it into schools. And that's why I was joking about experimenting on, because they put all these kids on it to test all these like fail points and all this. It was crazy. And a lot of us kind of wonder, were we experimented on? So anyway, it's just kind of a funny thing.
Well, hey,
so
man,
I don't know if that adds
sharing.
anything.
No, I think personally, I think it adds a lot, because for me, the interesting point is, as you say, I agree. It seems inevitable if we have the internet that information that goes on the internet will be copied again and again and again. And information in the physical world will increasingly come online as more of our lives move online or digitized or whatever. But to me, the interesting thing is the value of having my idea known by, copied across, like to have my idea touch millions of people because there is this copy machine that all of them can access is the most valuable thing, more than any amount of money that somebody could pay me. Is the value of, oh, that idea came from Evan, which is, NFTs definitely do that. Even if you don't have an official copy of the information, if it is tokenized or whatever, and that's how people are disseminating it, I think the infrastructure will come that, one, it becomes easier to share with or without permission. But two, I definitely think the infrastructure we're moving towards, like the IP and copyright giants, are going to want there to be some kind of, sign in with your NFT, show me all the NFTs you own and have access to. If you can claim it, use this NFT to redeem a PDF copy, but you'll probably be able to get an unauthorized one just as easy. I think so. You think so, Alex?
I was going to say, you might be in the minority when it comes to what is the true marker of value, because I think the vast majority of people would definitely want, what they have coming to them if someone is massively using something that they created. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I don't know. That's kind of how I imagine one way that it could play out. I could see that being the thought about, I'm right now, what I'm trying to do as I was staring off into space is like put myself in the position, because when the internet was becoming a thing, I was very small and I wasn't really aware of what was happening. My dad worked in it, and he spent a lot of time specifically in the IP conversation when it came to like digitizing and putting up music. He worked with Mom, I don't know if you're in here right now. You can correct me if I'm wrong or let me know who I'm forgetting. But I know he worked on some of the software teams that helped create like what became iTunes and what became Spotify and kind of that whole process. And then he worked specifically with a couple artists who were like really concerned about it at the time, Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, about like their music being put up and being able to be downloaded, and then how would they be compensated for it. And fast forward to right now, I just heard this stat in this interview that just absolutely blew my mind. Snoop Dogg was on a podcast talking about crossing some odd billion streams on Spotify. And the host was just like, oh my God, man, that's incredible. Congratulations. That's a massive milestone. And he's like, yeah, what's wild is that out of all of those streams, Spotify has paid me less than $45,000.
Yeah.
And the host was just like, what? And it just, that absolutely, I knew it was bad, because again, okay, perfect. That's right. That was the specific thing that my dad was working on.
Oh, I see. It was all about creating a fan experience the artist could control. Very cool.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, Mom.
So you guys think about one thing real quick, which I think is a different take on. I've never heard you guys talk about that, but if you think of NFTs not just like the proof of ownership, but if you think about it as almost like a trademark, it's an interesting idea because and the angle would be if you're ubiquitous. In other words, if you say this is something I've created, this is this thing, and you put it out there, and the whole damn world knows that you've put it out publicly and said it's there. Well, then at that point, when people start making these copies of it and everything, you've got a litigation, you've got a basis for litigation. And I wonder if that's not what ends up happening. I don't know. I mean, I hope you guys are right about NFTs, but that it just becomes like there's this universal clearinghouse of lawsuits that is just like step out of line and steal someone's shit and we're just suing you, because I cannot see the internet being the place that this gets regulated the way that you guys do with NFTs. I'm not, because I think everyone's going to copy everything, but I could be deadly wrong, but I do think it could form the foundation for saying, look, here's my NFT, here's my stamp. I did this thing first. And then, when someone takes it, then you go, we can just start suing everybody. Like Metallica. Are you guys even old enough to remember LimeWire and all that kind of stuff and everything? Or,
Of course.
Yes, I
okay.
would.
Yeah.
Alex
Anyway.
and I are right at that age where, unlike Alex, I didn't grow up in a household with a dad working on the internet. But I feel like we both came of age right around the time where we learned what the world was. And then we learned there was this new thing called the internet. And then we started to experience it. So right on the cusp, man, we got to see kind of a before and after picture of none of it is happening at scale. And now it's everywhere. Cell phones, all that stuff. I feel like I grew up in a wild time.
What's crazy for me is growing up with the internet and then having it taken away. No, there never was an internet.
Yeah.
You never saw this. I'm like, what? No, I was on computers all the time and it went away and then came back with this rough, clunky TRS-80 and these things. And I'm going, I'm using touch screens back then. What is going on? And it took, forever to come back to that. It's crazy.
Well,
that's a whole other subject of just funny things. I remember reading some article when the first iPad came out, and it was just like a picture of the Microsoft tablet that was like 15 years old at that point. That was exactly the same thing, and just remember thinking like, "Huh, that's interesting." And then just going back and looking at all of the other just things that ceased to exist that didn't get the marketing platform that like an Apple product did 20 years after Microsoft or someone else made it for the first time.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for letting me contribute that. I'll let you get back to it. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, Kip.
Thanks,
Good to
Kip.
see you. And say hi to Thailand for us, man.
Yeah.
Alex, that reminds me of a quote. What Kip's saying just about NFTs and intellectual property and is the future. Alan Kay, who is a multi-hyphenate inventor, psychologist, whatever, he says that the best way to predict the future is to invent it. So I don't know about you, but I have a smart contract that I use solely for the purpose of documenting my ideas. When I come up with an idea that I think is novel and worth writing down somewhere that I might want people to know it was mine, I put it on the smart contract. I just do a short description of the idea in the metadata of the token, and it lives there on the chain forever, so that while there's no
I don't think I knew that you were doing that.
Yeah, just a one way to experiment with the technology we love.
That's really cool.
And it's like, no court is going to hold it up today right now. But if I got, slammed by a lawsuit from the New York Times or something over an idea that I had that was in that contract, and I could use it as a piece of evidence to prove, I would. And I absolutely expect we're going to see some kind of court case like that from somebody using this tech in that way. That's going to open the door.
I think that I didn't think about it until you said it that way, but that would probably be a really easy way to at least like toe dip the use case for blockchain into the legal world, which would be, no longer having to prove, like, what's the word I want here? Or no longer having the proof process be so laborious.
Oh my God! Yeah.
For something happening at a certain time, because you could point to where it is on chain, and if that wasn't like a commonly known thing, this happens in court sometimes. If like you need to explain to the jury why like an expert witness this is what expert witnesses are for. They are experts in a particular field that are brought in to educate the jury so that they have the information that they need to make a decision with the evidence that they're being faced with. Example, if you wanted to use, I don't know, DNA evidence to exonerate or to prove somebody guilty, at some point experts had to come in and educate the jury about what is DNA and why is
this powerful evidence.
So imagine us getting to the point in probably the relatively near future where Evan, prove that you did come up with this idea on this date because, here's so-and-so filing this on, May 30th of 2022. And Evan's like, well, actually, I wrote it into this smart contract in April of 2019 or whatever it is. And then him just being able to hold up like the blockchain explorer, transaction history of his interactions with this contract, written into the whatever blockchain, and the jury being like, huh? And then all of a sudden you have to bring in an expert witness in the field of blockchain to explain to the jury what is an immutable ledger, what does it mean that it's distributed, blah, 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 blah. And then having that definition baked into the legal precedent that is now extremely cut and dry, just like DNA evidence with like, well, hey, actually your claim means nothing because we have irrefutable proof that it happened this way. Do you have anything else to present? No, let's move on. I could totally see that being the way that it shakes out.
I honestly am this is so nerdy. I'm getting goosebumps imagining like my A Few Good Men moment. Like it would be the peak of my personal arc to my professional arc to get a call that's like, we need you in court on Monday, to be the guy who's like, Your Honor, I can prove, to be the expert witness to tell everybody like why the NFT is the thing.
Kip, imagine, because you're 100% right. So Kip brings up a good point that they would have to know that it was you that put it there. So at some point, this is one of my interesting, like, I guess, conundrums with Web3 is I have a very hard time imagining what purely trustless looks like because most of the stuff that we've seen in Web3 has been catalyzed by a human being, which means that at some point, like you take an NFT, and an NFT is a perfect example. Evan might hold an NFT. Let's say that he has, this picture, okay, from the mug. And he holds the NFT for it. And it is the only one in existence. And if you look on chain, it is the first one that was minted with this picture, whatever. But he didn't do this. Kaio did it, right? So just because Evan holds an NFT of this picture doesn't necessarily really mean anything other than he holds an NFT of this picture. The Bored Apes are a great example. I could right-click save Bored Ape, whichever one of them. Jenkins, the butler, whatever, Evan, the famous one. Is that his?
Jenkins, the valet.
The valet, thank you. So I could go right-click save that JPEG. I could save that high-fidelity image, and I could mint it myself onto the blockchain, and I could give it a token address, and all of a sudden I have an NFT that is that picture, that is identified by that picture, right? To the layperson looking at that, they might see, okay, my Twitter profile picture is the little hexagon, which I read somewhere means NFT. And if I right click on it, it has a token address and it's being held in a wallet. And maybe that's where I stop. And then maybe I sell this on OpenSea to some unsuspecting individual who just sees that it is an NFT. It is a tokenized JPEG of a Bored Ape that I know is famous and I pay a lot of money for it. And then later I realize it's the wrong collection ID.
Yep.
That's extremely possible. That is very easy to do. Within a week of the Faceless Many minting, there was an entirely fake collection of every minted TFM ripped off being sold on OpenSea, hosted on Polygon.
But Alex, don't you think that problem is mostly going to be gone with like the gap in literacy when it's closed? Like it's mostly going to be people's grandmas. No hate against grandmas, love them, big fan. But you know what I mean? Like we're going to have solutions so that.
But here's that other degree of separation, because I know exactly what you're getting at.
Yeah.
And yes, in some sense, that problem could be mitigated very well by building a better front end to display all of that information and to like display a big red warning that like this is not the original Bored Ape Yacht Club token ID or whatever. But we are trusting then whoever built that front end to have coded in the right parameters to display the proper warnings at the proper time for the proper stuff. So like at some point, no matter what, I cannot wait to be proven wrong about this, and I hope that it happens at some point. But at this point, just because you have exactly two options. You and I can go to Etherscan right now and start looking at all this stuff, and it's really hard to decipher. It's not a pleasant user experience, but you could do it. So two things need to happen. You either need to be enough of an expert to do that and decide these things for yourself and identify different token identifier strings and be able to make the determination that this is the real one, this is the fake one, this is the ripoff, this is the real one, whatever. Or you need to trust someone else to be telling you the right shit.
Yeah.
At some point, trust in another human is still in the equation.
Yeah, and I think it always will be.
Yep.
It always will, even with trustless stuff, like Kip is saying. Yep. It always will be. But we can reduce the friction of it, and we can implement more places where it's less likely to fail. Protocol instead of people, wherever possible, where a computer could do it better.
I think that the real winning blow for me here is that it becomes a million times easier to verify, and anybody who takes the inspiration to learn how to verify can do it. And could then realize that it's bullshit or it's real, whatever it is.
That's great.
But that is still required input effort on behalf of all of us as people to be able to do that. And I think for most people, the fact that it's there and it's possible to verify easily will probably be enough to like help make whatever the situation is a little bit better. But there's still the possibility. I mean, this is one of the things we were going to talk about. How much money was scammed off of people just last year alone, in Web3, in the trustless industry,
Yeah. Do you have the numbers? I'm totally good to pop up into it and talk about security. I think we've, beaten this horse pretty well. I think this is a topic we'll continue to return to, obviously. And expect to see improvements on, year by year, day by day. I think it's going to be 2030. We're going to look back on this conversation and be like, wow, we got that right. We got that way wrong. And wherever we are on the map is going to be about 1,000 steps beyond this moment in time. We're going to say that was fast,
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that because I'm sure of one thing. I'm sure that we're wrong about something, and I'm anxious to see what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just last year, and honestly, this seems a little bit low to me. But I guess the fair disclosure is that this would be reported losses. That there could very easily be more that are not in this. Not every crime is reported. But $300 million at least were stolen in crypto-related phishing scams last year alone. And I'm reminded of a really recent near miss from Mac that if you go to, so some of you probably know Mac Lorden, one of the people that we work with. He's got a lot of videos here on TikTok at Mac Lorden. One of his more recent ones is the story of him almost getting scammed. And I was talking to him after it, and he basically said, he's like, no, I was moving quickly and I was tired and I wasn't looking closely enough at, some really easy stuff. And basically what the scam was is he followed a link to a place to connect his wallet to check. Holy shit, Evan, I'm forgetting basic English words here, to check whether he was allowed to get this airdrop or not.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
And he went to the fake link and he connected and was going to verify the transaction and realized that it was the wrong kind of transaction. He was like looking back through the parameters of the transaction he was about to approve and realized, luckily before he hit send or accept, that it was one that was going to drain him, and obviously didn't, and navigated away from it and broke off the not so far today. This is coffee, I promise. anyway, broke it off and severed the connection, all that good stuff. But it was a near miss, and very very easily could he have just been like, yep, okay, I want to get this airdrop, full send.
Yeah.
So it's really, and Mac is someone who works here all day, every day for years. We own a company in the Web3 industry, and still this kind of stuff can happen if you just let your guard down for the tiniest moment in time.
Okay, so I have two questions for you. The first one is 300 million. Quick answer, does that seem high or seem low to you?
That seems low to me.
Seems low to me too. And what is something a person can do if they want to keep themselves secure? Let's talk about it, whether it's a tried and true or maybe something novel. Somebody's in this space for the first time. Somebody's been in this space a while. If they're in crypto and they want to update their security, they want to check on their health. What are the recommendations? Go down the list. Sounds like number one is don't click links asking you to accept a transaction.
Yep.
Check it first.
So standard internet safety measure that everyone should take is to never, ever, ever open and trust a link sent to you by someone you do not know, or a link you're not expecting. Right? We hear this in email phishing scams all the time. If somebody emails you a download or a link and you weren't expecting it, don't open it. Just don't do it. Yeah. In crypto, that can be a little bit trickier because you don't know a lot of the people that are here, and someone who is innocently trying to get the word out for their airdrop, whatever. Shameless plug. One of the best things.
Oh yeah.
One of the best things that I would say you can do is to find a group of people so that you can get extra sets of eyes on stuff that you're unsure about. And we do that in our Discord a lot, which is a totally free resource for a community, discord.gg/the many. If you encounter something and you're like, I wonder if this is legit, just throw it in there and ask if anyone has seen it, interacted with it, if anyone knows anything about it, or just, get some extra sets of eyes on stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. Shameless mom plug there.
Yeah. Linda, Alex's mom says, I always ask my son, which is, if you don't have a son like Alex, these are the things you can do.
But yeah, no, I think that asking people, finding people that you can trust in the space to give you honest feedback or information on something, and that was one of the biggest reasons for creating the Discord in the first place. Was we wanted a place for people to be able to learn about Web3 and crypto and blockchain in a place where someone wasn't trying to relentlessly sell them something, because obviously that removes the motive to lie to you and bullshit you. So
right. And the other thing is, anybody who's posting in there, they're either going to give you something to verify or they're not.
Yeah.
We really encourage that there. So if you're posting something to try and help somebody, you'll leave something that we can either verify or check on or not.
But other than that, you just have really basics, triple check a transaction before you approve it. Make sure it's the one that you're thinking of. If you're at all skeptical about the nature of a transaction, because it's Web3, sometimes we opt into doing a sketchy thing to take a risk. Use a burner wallet. It is so easy to create another wallet. If you're in the position where you're opting into a sketchy transaction, you're probably aware enough to make a new wallet. Don't use the one with all of your ETH in it. Don't use the one with all of your whatever blockchain you're on crypto in. Make a new one, do the thing. If you get hosed, then at least you're only out what you were going to risk in the first place, and you're not out the rest of it, So, Life, I'll just write it in.
Good. You got it? Okay. While Alex is dropping the link to the Discord below, I do want to add two things. The first thing is, Alex, are you hip to MetaMask snaps yet? And folks listening, are you hip to this?
No, I am so far out of the MetaMask loop because I haven't used it in so many years.
No problem. So somebody, a couple people below, Dave made a suggestion, and Mike made a suggestion about Pocket Universe, Wallet Shield. These are apps that you can add extensions, I think, that will make your Web3 experience more secure. They'll audit contracts you interact with. They'll check the transaction prompts you receive to see if anything looks fishy, especially if you're not like a coder or something, and they're updated by community all the time. MetaMask snaps are extensions for MetaMask. Their tagline is decentralizing the wallet experience, and they are community submitted, MetaMask reviewed extensions. And it's everything from like convenience, spot the next 100x token, to security, to better bridges for different networks. There's one called Soulflare, for example, for Solana. And they have a lot of snaps oriented around checking transactions, checking contracts, doing what a developer would do that you don't know how to do, so that you can have a safer experience online. I definitely think we should cover them in a future episode. I just got onto snaps last week and have started playing around with them. The UX is still a little like, you got to kind of be a nerd, I feel like, but it's cool.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here.
So, and while you pull it up, let me give just really quick, since we absolutely have to say it, on the topic of Web3 security. If you are in this field, if you are interested, if you're a hobbyist, and especially if you're somebody who's like invested, you absolutely owe it to yourself. You got to get a hardware wallet, and you have lots of options to choose from. You can get a Ledger. You can get I think there's one called Cold Safe. Now, there are new ones coming out all the time, but Alex and I were talking yesterday. We really love Trezor. This is not something we are paid to say, but if you need a hardware wallet, then check out Trezor. There's been a lot of controversy about Ledger lately. People are not sure about the way that they are releasing their code, the way that they're doing updates. They're getting a lot of backlash that just shows they might be a little out of touch with the crypto community. And I have never seen Trezor make a misstep with regard to the way they relate to their audience, their community, and they build a great product. It's super easy to use, super secure. It supports all the cryptocurrencies that you want to trade in, and it makes it easy for you to, take your crypto wherever you go so that nobody else can access it. I think they have a couple of models I haven't checked lately, depending on what your budget is, or if you want a touch screen versus something, a little more archaic. But we love their product. And if you work at Trezor, this could be a sponsored post. You could sponsor this show. We would love to be bought by a company that we respect. So if you are somebody who knows Trezor, or you work at Trezor, then get at us. Sponsor the show. And on that note, Alex, I don't know if there are other companies you want to make an ask to, but I definitely want to ask everyone watching, if you know of a crypto protocol like Pocket Shield, Wallet Shield, et cetera, that's in a place, the Ethereum Foundation, that you really like, you think is reputable, a credible professional in this space, we absolutely want for the next iteration of our show to be bringing, building a wider audience with the help of sponsors, maybe doing some giveaways, stuff like that. So we've got a document. We're working on outreach. We'll do the outreach if you've got a company you recommend.
Trezor is a no-brainer. It's the only hardware wallet I have and use. I have a Model T. It was like I don't know, I bought it years ago. It was a no-brainer when I did it. I really liked, Ledger's UI to like onboard somebody. But in the same vein, I've never had an issue with my Trezor. And I feel like every day I just keep getting like more and more sketchy news from Ledger. Or about Ledger that just makes me go, God, come on. Like, damn it, we're supposed to be better than this. It's not like inherently bad. It's just like really obvious every day that it's a Web 2 company, which is fine, but just say that, And Trezor is just like humbly and quietly in the background, just being the best wallet of all time. And I don't know. Their security team is absolutely cracked. There's some really interesting stories about like the things that I might be getting this wrong. I'd have to look this up, Evan. Maybe you remember, but there was oh my God, I'm gonna look this up after I say it because I feel like I'm gonna say it wrong. Trezor had a security breach that was discovered like by them a while ago. Like they white hatted themselves, and I want to say it was the Kraken security team that found it. And that's been like
I feel a vague memory of this.
it's a connection between. I'm gonna, you know what? Give me a second. Let me take a quick
Go ahead
peek.
and look it up. And
There's
while you do
definitely a
that, let me
security link
say,
there.
let me affirm what you said in answer to a question above. That Chris, yes, if you lose crypto in a scam, you absolutely can claim it as a loss. Um, Theft losses used to be deductible, but there are some changes. You can report like a business failure loss, an investment loss. Um, and I'm not entirely sure how you would like report it, but I know that um, uh, uh, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on the name. It's not Coinbase. Who's my tax software? Alex, who's our tax software? Coinly. You use
Coinly.
Coinly? I use Coinly. Coinly is a free tax resource for crypto people.
I
Coinly with a
do.
K, super
Oh yeah.
helpful.
Yep.
They have resources on it, but I would also say, Coin Ledger, Zen Ledger, and there are plenty of reputable CPAs who do crypto. And
I was
honestly,
just
I
gonna,
would start to look for them on Twitter.
I was just gonna say, if you drop into our Discord,
Yep.
the most recent post in the general chat was me sending this question to one of our resident crypto literate CPAs, Angel, who is brilliant. He's in our Discord as non-fungible cats. If you have questions about it, he's definitely worth asking. You can also ask. So Mac's wife Amber she works for an accountant. She helps people get their crypto taxes stuff set up. She is a Coinly guru. If you have questions about how to set that up, you can tag her in the Discord as well, and she can probably hook you up. She's definitely a pro at it. I know enough to like connect my stuff, but Amber like sets it up for people, and that was her whole job. But yeah, there's a couple. I'm trying to think of other CPAs. I mean, my
And
go-to.
didn't Andrew the lawyer wasn't part of the Mount Gox lawsuit that he was working on? Maybe I'm misremembering this. Wasn't part of that about like recourse for people who are scammed? I would expect to see some legal shifts around, what is okay to claim on your taxes and what isn't with regard to scams and frauds, because that's different depending on what kind of asset you're talking about. I think that'll evolve with crypto personally, but not a lawyer.
And actually, there's a couple crypto lawyers in our Discord as well too. You can if you have questions about that kind of stuff, I can happily point out who you should tag to ask. Chris, to answer your question, is it capped? Yes, personal losses are capped on a yearly basis. However, and this is getting more in the weeds, but it really depends how much money you're talking about dealing with. There are some tools that make sense for people who are dealing with above a certain threshold or below a certain threshold, whatever. Yeah. I want to say, and again, this would be a question for Angel. I want to say that if you are dealing with a larger amount of a loss, it might be worth it to look at like incorporating yourself and then, reporting it in the business sense, because I believe that Evan, do
To
you
put
know?
it in perspective, I do have a number for you that you can offset $3,000 of ordinary income in a given year, and they will allow you to carry it forward. I don't remember for how many years. I think it might be 5. And I know this from personal experience. I
Yeah,
file my taxes as an LLC. I have harvested some losses,
me too.
enough to carry over.
Yeah, actually,
And in
last
fact, fun
year,
fact, Alex, did I tell you there's a great company? I'll look up the name. They're doing the NFT pawn shop. Their whole business proposition is if you are somebody who bought a Bored Ape JPEG for $300,000 and now you can't sell it, or whatever worthless NFT you bought, they buy all your worthless NFTs for a penny so that you can have an official record for your taxes. Harvest your losses.
dude,
Sell your NFTs, harvest your losses.
you know what I never get tired of and just makes me like shed a single tear every time is when all of us had an idea like 3 years ago and talked about it while we were just like up in the middle of the night at a hotel at a conference or something. Like, wouldn't it be cool? Because we pitched NFT pawn shop as an idea 3 years ago, and now someone created one like a couple weeks ago, and it's been circulating on Twitter. And I'm just like, I absolutely love seeing the things that I thought about out there in the ether.
That's why I do the smart contract, man, with my ideas. When there's an idea like that I have, I just mint it. And usually I come on TikTok and talk about it because I like to, I'm not going to have time for all these ideas, you know. But there you go. Add it to the bucket, right?
Chris, absolutely, you're very
Yeah.
welcome. Um,
Good seeing you, Chris. Now, I think we're sufficiently well met in news, but I'm kind of thinking maybe let's just give a very quick. I'm going to give you the 30-second update on the SBF trial because that is important. It's newsworthy, and then you want to get into this Decrypt thing, announcing Base the L2 as their project of the year, or you want to go somewhere else? What do you think?
no, yeah, I was going to say that we didn't really cover the market at all today.
No,
Um, but
you want to
it's
give it a touch?
do you want
It's
to
up.
hit that maybe real quick? Hit that and SBF each for like a minute or two apiece, and then
Yes, you pull up the market while I give you the overview on SBF. It's very brief.
okay,
If you are holding your breath for the second trial of Sam Bankman-Fried, which was due to come this spring, go ahead and exhale and start breathing again. Prosecutors filed a letter in New York court on Friday that pursuing a second trial for SBF, they say, would serve to delay the case against him, which they claim is already strong enough. Their quote is, given that practical reality and the strong public interest in a prompt resolution, the government intends to proceed to sentencing on the counts for which the defendant was already convicted at trial. So, too long didn't read. They're skipping the second part of his trial. They think they got enough to convict him for plenty long time. I have seen backlash to this on Twitter. Some people are like, no, this is a miscarriage of justice. Some people say, no, we're going to get justice sooner because he's got plenty of stuff against him. We've got to wait to see. But once they respond to this, you can expect that he'll be sentenced either way on March 28th. He faces up to 110 years in prison. So stay tuned. We'll keep you posted on that.
yeah, it's interesting a little bit because I get both sides of the argument. Like I am so ready to just watch that dude go to prison. That's where he deserves to be. I also understand the desire for especially the people who have been harmed by someone to see the full extent of the law brought down. And then it kind of becomes this, like personal opinion debate, which is very hard to have about whether or not something is good enough. Like you could easily argue that 110
Yeah.
years in prison is good enough because like he's not going to live that long, probably, unless he is a cyborg, which is possible. Um, but I mean, I don't know. I think that's about my full opinion. I can very clearly see and empathize with both sides. And I think with like, more egregious perpetrators of crimes, you want to see the full extent come down, but you also want to see them punished swiftly and not watch this get dragged out forever. And I feel like with SBF, like we know that he is a liar and a scammer and a con artist and all of those things. And they proved that, and he will be sentenced and he will go to prison for an extremely long time, most likely the rest of his life. I think I'm over it. I think personally, I'm ready to just watch him go, and I'm annoyed at how long this keeps getting dragged out. So,
Yeah.
I think the one instance where I would immediately side like on the defendants, or excuse me, on the Jesus Christ, the people seeking justice's side. My God, would be like in a murder case, or something like that, where there's like multiple victims. You've seen that before, where it's like we don't have enough evidence to go after him for this one and this one, but we do for this one and this one, so we're going to go after this one. But then the families of the first two like don't necessarily get that same kind of closure. That one makes a lot more sense. Like here, he stole a lot of our money. He's going to prison forever. I'm good.
Yeah.
Of course, Bright. Yeah, I mean, there with anything like this, with as many like hooks into various political affiliations and money going from this person to that person. I could see the sleazy case for why it would need to be over sooner versus later with that too. Maybe there's a lot of
Yeah.
politicians that are just like, no, 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 we're good, we're good. Let's send it before they realize like how much I was involved in this, or how much my office took from this or whatever. Like let's just be done with it. I
Yeah,
can
I don't necessarily think that and maybe I don't know enough here to have an opinion, but I don't necessarily think that the average run-of-the-mill politician has a tremendous amount of influence over the due process of a New York State legal case. I think they may have influence over this or that factor of it, but I don't think they have influence. I don't think if Elizabeth Warren wanted to push the trial, for example, sooner or later, that she would really be able to do it. But
look
um,
the yeah the the truth of American politics is there's like very few people that control pretty much all of it, and they're not in office. The people in office are just
yeah,
figureheads.
sure,
Uh,
their own. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, Congress is useless.
yeah,
they just serve to make stuff take forever by litigating this or that or debating this or that. But like they ultimately, things get out of their hands, and it would take someone a lot more influential than your run of the mill, representative
yeah.
uh, to make anything happen.
So we'll have an SBF update for you if anything changes, but for now, expect sentencing to come in March.
Yep.
Alex, do you want to give them the numbers? Is it time for me to retire yet? Can I sell all my crypto for a penthouse in the Bahamas with
Yeah,
10 of my
you're good.
friends?
You're good. Yep.
Awesome,
Full fledged.
great.
Yep.
That was easy.
That's all, folks.
Guess the show's over.
No, we are up. We're not up that much.
Okay.
Um, we started off 2024 strong. Bitcoin crossed $45,000, and it is still over $45,000. I am sure that a lot of this is anticipation of the theoretically impending ETF approval, and all I wanted to do was just share my opinion that I see one of two eventualities playing out with the market as it relates to short-term crypto prices. If we do, in fact, or we do not, in fact, see an ETF for Bitcoin spot trading approved this month. I
Okay, give me
believe,
both scenarios.
yeah, this is my opinion. It is the opinion of a guy on the internet that you may or may not know. Take that for exactly what it sounds like it's worth, because that's what it's worth. Not much. Um, Not to sell myself short, but at the end of the day, I'm a guy on the internet,
Yeah.
whatever. If the ETF is approved,
Okay.
I think it's likely that prices go down because we've been buying the hype of the approval for months, and people are going to want to realize profit. Okay. So it
Yeah.
makes sense to me that the price could crash after it, just like it does with lots of big events. Buy the rumor, sell the news. That's a saying for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's denied, prices will probably crash because that's bad news. You know? So my hot take, my hot off the presses prediction in crypto is no matter what, it's probably going to crash, regardless of the news. If it takes too long and they delay, it'll probably crash because we're all pent up and frustrated and people sell off. So, like, I would be skeptical about buying too much stuff right now because it's been up, up, up in what I don't think is the ideal bull market scenario. The rest of the world's not doing phenomenal. Crypto is still in its little bubble. And I think
Yeah.
we have a long way to go before we're in this like full tilt raging bull market. So there you go. There's three eventualities, all of which I think result in a crash.
Yeah, so it's a possible crash, a definite crash, and okay, yeah, a light crash, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So three stages of crashing. Might be a good time to sell a little crypto. And did you see Dave's comment? I love what Dave said. Uh, we're never afraid to say we don't know what we don't know. This is
Yeah.
obviously, we're not your financial advisor. We're not your lawyer. We're not your CPA. We are, as Alex said, just two strangers sharing our opinions on the internet. And what fun it is. Um, Let me tell you really quickly before we get into this project of the day, which is this is what people know and love us for, or at least what I love about you, uh, and what our community loves to do. We're about to get into sort of a breakdown of a project to talk about the nitty gritty of it from a perspective of, would we invest our time and attention in this? And I want to make a quick ask of you, which is, if you are not in the Discord, discord.gg/the many, please get in there and give us feedback on if there's a project, if there's an ecosystem, if there is a person in the crypto space you want us to deconstruct, dive into, give our feedback on. We obviously don't know anything, but we do this every day. We've been spending a lot of time on it, and we've met a lot of these people personally, so we can give you some perspective that maybe you don't have from where you're sitting. And we would love to share information that you can verify, that all of us can learn from, so that whatever we choose to invest our time, attention, and money in, we can make better decisions about it together. Like, I don't know where Alex got that cute pillow. That might even be a Christina joint, but that was a good investment, man. That's cute.
It's the butt. It's the butt pillow.
It's the pillow. And the other ask I have of you is, if you're enjoying this so far, please do me a favor and send that screen to tap. If you got your thumbs at the ready, it's free, and it really, really does help the algorithm know that this is a helpful show. Of course, please continue to drop your questions, your comments, your feedback, your good jokes, words of wisdom, because that helps us too. We're always glad to see you guys here. And as the show kind of wraps up today, we'll do this project and then put a pin in it. We'll be back Thursday. We're back every Tuesday, every Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. UTC. And Ryan has a quick question, and then I'll preview this article. Does it matter what exchange you sell on as far as how high price can go? The short answer is no, as Alex is saying, but the complicated answer is there are entire businesses built around arbitraging this, meaning that if Coinbase shows it's 1 cent higher, they're going to sell it there instead of on Kraken, because they're moving a lot of stuff and they're doing it moment to moment. For everyday people like us, that's not going to matter.
Yeah, it's probably not worth. I mean, if you have an account on one or the other, just use the one that you're familiar and comfortable with.
Yep.
I do pretty much anytime I need to sell or buy anything, I just use Kraken, because I have my account set up there. I'm verified. I know how to use it. I'm very familiar with it. I really enjoy the Kraken exchange. If the crypto that I want or need is not on Kraken, I'm like, oh, God, how much do I really want or need this thing?
I just love that you said I really enjoy the Kraken.
I do enjoy the Kraken. Yeah.
And
great
rum,
and a great crypto exchange.
And a great monster. Let's be honest.
And a great monster. Yeah.
To Alex's point, the one for people like us, the one that works for you is the best one. If it's easy for you, you can stay safe and secure. Maybe you have a community there. From there, you will find that different exchanges are built to serve different customers, and they have different types of products, different rates, different fees, because these are businesses competing for your attention and your dollars. So from there, then you can branch out, get in a community where you can ask people what their experience is. What's your advice there?
I was just going to say, Ryan brings up a great point. On Uphold, it shows a lower number from an all-time high than what this specific currency really did. So, like Evan was saying, different exchanges will sell and buy things at different rates. Depending on where you look, the prices could be slightly different. It is also a thing that on some exchanges, due to a number of different potential mitigating circumstances, something might spike or drop a lot higher or lower than it does anywhere else. And that exchange will then report that as an all-time high or an all-time low, even if it was. Sometimes you see display glitches, there was a display glitch semi-recently where all of a sudden XRP was like $28,000 for like 4 seconds or something.
Or Binance was like $5,000 or something, I think BNB.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that everyone, if they had been paying attention at that second, would have been able to sell all of their stuff for $1 bajillion. It would have been fixed and the trade would not have cleared. Sometimes things crash a lot higher, or lower, or spike a lot higher or lower, whatever. It depends on which exchange you're looking at. A lot of those instances, it kind of depends. I mean, if like Evan said, Ryan, if you really want to like take as much of an advantage as possible, then what you really need to do is look into like exchange arbitrage. Some people make their entire living arbitraging the US dollar, arbitraging gold, arbitraging Bitcoin, arbitraging stable coins, whatever. Like stable coins are a good example. If you look at them on some exchanges, they might be like, point $9,999,999, and on another one they're $1.00001 or whatever, and sometimes that gap widens or shrinks. So buy it over here, sell it over here, do the same thing, flip flop back and forth, scraping pennies every single time, and do that with a bot a million times a day, whatever. You're able to make quite a bit of money doing that. It really, there's no right or wrong answer, to be honest. Kind of just depends how into the weeds you want to get with it.
Yeah. And to Ryan and everybody, we appreciate you. It's good to have questions like this, and any question is a good question. No such thing as a bad question, and you can't tell, we love getting into the weeds on a question. Alex, can I get your feedback on this layer 2 base from Coinbase?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the too long didn't read. Earlier this year, Coinbase broke crypto Twitter, when they announced they were officially launching a layer 2, a crypto network called Base, on top of Ethereum, using the layer 2 Optimism. That's their tech stack. Optimism on top of ETH. The exchange, drawing a line in the sand here. This is an L2 that is built for developers and users. It is made by the centralized giant Coinbase, but it is a decentralized network in the sense that anybody can build an app on it, on Ethereum, and so forth. They're not launching a token. They have said, from the start, don't be scammed by it. They're using the Optimism token for a lot of reasons, and they have seen an incredible amount of daily activity on their chain. Optimism saw record highs after Base launched. They hit 1 million addresses in just 11 days, the fastest layer 2 ever to do so. And by September, had overtaken Solana in TVL, a substantial accomplishment. Of course, eventually that was undone by Solana's recent resurgence. But it had more activity at some points last year, even than Ethereum. This all comes to us by way of Decrypt, that picked Base as its project of the year. Alex and I had some interesting conversation about this last night, and I'm just going to preview it with this and then pass it off to him to introduce. Activity on Base has netted Coinbase about $6 million of profit. Not a ton of money, but almost 2 times what competitors like Arbitrum and even Optimism and ZK Sync, L2s on Ethereum, have made all year. So Alex, what do you think about this L2, the existence of Coinbase's own blockchain, decentralized, but still there, powered by Coinbase? And what do you think about the coverage of it in such a prominent crypto news outlet? Do you think it's a coincidence that they picked this project? Let's start there.
So I have a little bit of insider information on how some of these larger publications work, because we have some friends that work for Waxman, which is a Web3 focused publicity firm. They do PR and media management for a lot of Web3 companies, the big ones. They are big. We see them at all the conferences. Great people. We had a conversation with them about Shades of Sin, the game we're making, and what it would take to get a feature on some of these different publications like Decrypt or like Cointelegraph or whatever. And the simple answer is just how much money are you willing to put in for that story to take place. For example, Decrypt, I think it was Decrypt, basically won't publish a story about a fundraise unless it's above a certain amount. So if we raised 100 grand, they're not going to do a story on that. You raise $1.5 million, they'll do a story on that. my immediate reaction to Evan sharing this story with me is I wonder how much money Coinbase paid Decrypt to get that title. Because if I think about the most interesting things that happened in crypto in the year of 2023, the 4 billionth layer 2 on Ethereum is not even close to the top pick. And I think that really just shows that this is a corporate insider game. Who is your friend? Like, you've always kind of known that it's not what you do, it's who you know. In Web3, that is like so glaringly obvious, it's not even funny. And so honestly, this is really disappointing. And it's not to knock Base. I don't think Base is like a bad project, but it's boring. I don't give a shit. There's nothing interesting about the 4 millionth layer 2. There are so many tiny little projects that get absolutely no attention that are doing amazing things, or actually providing a unique or cool solution. Maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not. But if I was running Decrypt, I would want to highlight the really cool stuff that would make somebody think that this industry was worth looking at, or, I don't know. It just, I think it's bullshit.
Let me offer a counterpoint to this, because sure. I have a hard time placing Coinbase. I said this to you last night, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here. The creator of Base is a longtime developer at Coinbase. His name is Jesse Pollock. And he's a good guy to follow in the crypto space. If you're on crypto Twitter and you're looking for a follow, Jesse Pollock, super technical guy, speaks helpfully about what we do. He says his ultimate goal for Base is to onboard 1 billion users. And therefore, right. But listen to this. I mean, this is a Coinbase-backed project. And the vision is that it's not just the exchange. Coinbase right now is like a financial services broker, but the blockchain is going to be a place where there can be entire creative economies built. The direct quote here from Pollock, though, is this. He says, it's really about increasing the number of things people can do. It's not just speculation and trading, it's also art, music, gaming, and other consumer products. Here's the kicker. So people have more opportunities to use Coinbase. They've already attracted Coke, Showtime, Atari. So it is what you say, I think. But I think it is a both and situation where they're doing this altruistic thing, creating a place where the economy on blockchain can live, but they are doing it because it benefits them.
No, listen, at the end of the day, I have really nothing against Coinbase. If I'm, I said Kraken is my exchange of choice. If I need another one, it's Coinbase. I think they've had some products that did a lot of benefit to the space. You don't need an account with Coinbase to learn on their platform. All of their educational materials are free, and you don't even need to sign in. Creating an account over there is free, but you don't even need to make a free account to read their educational material. And it's really well designed. It's like really easy to read. It's really beginner friendly. I will send anyone in a heartbeat to Coinbase Learn to get a basic feel for like Web3 terminology, the basic simple ideas. What is an NFT? What is a cryptocurrency? What is Bitcoin? What is Ethereum? That's the place to go read about it for sure. My only real opinion is just that Coinbase is at the end of the day a company, and companies want to make money because they have shareholders. Coinbase is a publicly traded company with shareholders. Some of the biggest funds and firms in the country are dealing with Coinbase's stock now. I mean, Cathie Wood is a massive buyer and seller of Coinbase stock, and she's not the only one. My point, and it's, again, there's nothing wrong with Base. I don't have an issue with Base as a project. I just think it's not that interesting. And if I had $1 for every time a crypto project told me that its goal was to onboard the first billion users into crypto, I would not need to fundraise for the video game that we're making. I would have enough money, because that's everyone's freaking goal. It's so tired and boring. We get it. You want to get a lot of users. We know that. You should be able to safely assume that every software product's goal is to get a buttload of users. Okay, there's nothing interesting about that whatsoever. You're not a hot take developer. If you say, I want to get $1 billion, you're like, great, good for you.
Welcome. Yeah.
That's my point. My point is not to say that Base doesn't deserve attention, that it's not cool, that they're not doing cool stuff, and that they're not going to make onboarding easy because Coinbase has a great UX. It's just boring and there's nothing original about it. And if you're trying to give an award to the project for like project of the year and you pick the biggest, most corporate project in the entire space, there's no other way to read that other than saying Coinbase probably bought that feature. Or if they didn't, Decrypt gave them the feature because they want Coinbase's love. It's one or the other. I don't think there's no way that a panel of crypto experts would have sat down and looked at the entire year in Web3 and given project of the year to the 18th layer 2 to launch in a 2-month period. There's just no way that would have been the thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting take, man, and I share a lot of it with you. I will. My final thought on this is that Kraken and OKX and possibly some other exchanges have revealed plans to build their own layer 2 networks.
Sure they do.
And it does make sense that exchanges want to build ecosystems like this. I am really going to be interested to revisit this story in a year, in 2 years. I think I agree with you. There are a lot more interesting and innovative things happening in terms of the stuff that gets me excited about what we're building. But I really do think they might be right. I think what is going to get people to the chain and make it so that we're using NFTs when we check out at the grocery store kind of thing. I think we're going to look back and say, yeah, when exchanges built their own blockchain and had a financial incentive to increase activity with their money, I think we're going to see it as an inflection point for sure.
Yep. Jim, you get the biggest of all shout outs for staying up that late.
Yeah, shout out to Jim and anybody else watching on the other side of the world from us. We always say good now, whether you're listening morning, noon, or night. But man, it really is a good now.
Whether you're listening morning, noon, or night, or at 3 o'clock in the morning like Jim.
Yeah, that strange in between time. Alex, man, what do you think? Should we give our final thoughts here in just a minute? I'll give a last couple of asks of our audience, and then we can pack up our shop until Thursday.
To say I'm good, and I think my homework for the next one is to crown my own most interesting project of 2023, and I'll have a spotlight for us on something that is actually interesting on Thursday.
Okay. I like that. Then I'm going to tell you, if you want more of this show, we got good news. We are here every Tuesday and Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. UTC. We've got helpful news. We got commentary. We've got research. We want to make this a fun and valuable show for you. So my next ask is, in addition to joining us here, come join us in the Discord. It is discord.gg/the-many. Like the many. There are so many of us, the many. Come into the general chat. After the show gets done, I am going to post all the links to the stories we've been talking about if you want to chase them down for yourself. Keep the conversation going. And my ask of you is that if you've got a question, if you've got a project you want us to look into, let us know. Let us know there. That's the easiest way to reach us. Of course, you can follow us here on our platforms. You can reach us this way. And stay tuned. If you know a company that should sponsor the show, we'd love to hear about it. If you have other ideas, feedback, good joke, word of wisdom, we're always open to it. But we appreciate you for being here. I'm glad to see you all, the good questions. And I'm looking forward to hearing what your project of the year is, Alex. Maybe I'll whip one up too. I think that's a fun challenge.
I think we should both pick one, and we'll
let
see.
people vote.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is the true project of the year. We haven't had a head-to-head competition in a minute, you and I.
We haven't. I think it's because you got tired of losing.
Oh, you dog. You mongrel.
Them's fighting words, and we'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, in that case, Alex, Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year.
Everybody listening, Happy New Year. And until next time, my friends, rise up.